This is a story of how a woman seized and wielded ultimate power. She was the first empress of China, and upon her husband's death, she became the empire's first Empress Dowager. The profound insecurities born from her turbulent life drove her to relentlessly consolidate control over the empire. Eventually, she became China's first de facto female ruler, earning a place in the official imperial annals alongside the emperors themselves. Yet she faced the ultimate dilemma shared by all female rulers in Chinese history. In a patriarchal society, how does one balance the interests of the house of her birth against the house of her marriage? Most pressingly, how could she ensure that her own kin would not face a violent backlash once she was gone? To this end, she took measures that others found unimaginable, and in doing so, she ultimately shouldered a legacy of chilling infamy. On June 1st, 195 BC, Liu Bang, the founder of the Han Empire, took his last breath in Changle Palace at the age of 62. But his wife, the 46-year-old Empress Lü Zhi, ordered a total gag on the news of his death. She summoned her most trusted confidant, Shen Yiji. Lü Zhi told him, "The emperor is dead. Those founding heroes who followed him to conquer the world will never be submissive. It is better to keep the death a secret and execute them all now to stabilize the realm." By this time, Lü Zhi was no longer content with being a mere wife. She had already penetrated the inner sanctum of imperial politics. Under her direction, two of the empire's greatest generals, Han Xin, Marquis of Huaiyin, and Peng Yue, King of Liang, had already been executed in a brutal and bloody fashion. These purges had even triggered a rebellion by another founding hero, Ying Bu. In fact, Liu Bang's death was partly due to an arrow wound he sustained while personally leading the campaign to suppress that very revolt. Now, Lü Zhi's plan exceeded even Shen Yiji's comprehension. As a fellow townsman of Liu Bang and Lü Zhi, Shen had risen through the ranks by caring for the Liu family, especially Lü Zhi during the wars. But to slaughter the entire old guard, many of whom were also his own townsmen, was beyond the capacity of this civil official. Yet he had neither the power nor the courage to challenge her. Shen Yiji knew Lü Zhi too well. He had been by her side during the 28 months she was held captive as a hostage by Xiang Yu. He was there when she finally returned to the Han camp, only to find her position usurped by Lady Qi, a woman 15 years her junior. He understood the ruthless drive within Lü Zhi to survive and reclaim what was hers. But to kill all the meritorious officials? Was this too far? As Shen Yiji wavered, General Li Shang caught wind of the plot and rushed to the palace. With the piercing insight of a veteran, he gave Shen a dose of harsh reality. The great generals are all stationed abroad. There are 200,000 troops to the north and 100,000 to the east. The moment they hear you are purging the old guard, they will unite and strike. Are you not simply waiting for your own death? This was the lethal logic of a general who had survived the killing fields. It wasn't a question of whether it should be done, but whether it could be done. Shen Yiji immediately returned to the inner palace and used this argument to dispel Lü Zhi's frenzied plan. Thus, after 4 days, the death of Liu Bang was finally announced, and his funeral rites began. Lü Zhi became China's first Empress Dowager. Her son, Liu Ying, the heir whose position she had fought so desperately to protect, became the second emperor of the Han Empire at the age of 16. By this time, following the political purges led by Liu Bang and 6 years of civil war, the Han Empire was firmly under the control of the Liu clan, save for the minor kingdom of Changsha. Liu Bang's eldest son, Liu Fei, now nearly 30, was a son born out of wedlock and had never been a candidate for the throne. He was the most powerful vassal, the king of Qi. The second son, Liu Ying, Lü Zhi's only son, ascended as the legitimate heir. The third son, Liu Ruyi, about 13, was the king of Zhao. His mother was Lady Qi, the woman who had stolen Liu Bang's heart. The fourth son, Liu Heng, 8, was the king of Dai, born to a low-profile former captive. Then came Liu Hui, 7, king of Liang, Liu Yu, 6, king of Huayang, and Liu Chang, 5, king of Huainan, who was raised by Lü Zhi herself after his birth mother died. The youngest was Liu Jian, 4, king of Yan. Additionally, Liu Bang's brother, Liu Jiao, ruled as the King of Chu and his nephew Liu Bi as the King of Wu. And what of the Liu family? Lü Zhi's eldest brother, Lü Zhi, had died years earlier suppressing revolts, and his sons, Lü Tai and Lü Chan, were merely titled marquises. Her second brother, Lü Zhi, was also a veteran general and a marquise. And that was all. At Liu Bang's funeral, looking at the sea of Liu clan members draped in the titles of kings and kings, one wonders if the marquises of the Liu family felt a sting of resentment. But Lü Zhi did not feel resentment. She felt a cold triumph. She had finally waited for this day. Shortly after the funeral, Lady Qi was evicted from Changle Palace and relegated to the everlasting alley, Yongxiang, to wash clothes. At that time, China had only seen 3 emperors, and there was no formal tradition for how to treat the concubines of a deceased ruler. When Lü Zhi sent her former rival to perform menial labor, many felt it was improper, but no one dared object. However, Lady Qi refused to accept her fate. It is said that while washing clothes in the alley, she began to sing. A king the sun, a slave the mother, pounding grain from dawn to dusk, like no other. 3,000 miles of mountain and sea, who will tell my son of me? Lady Dai was renowned for her singing and dancing, which was how she had captured Liu Bang's affection. Her song was deeply moving, touching those around her, and eventually reaching the ears of Lü Zhi. Lü Zhi was enraged. So, you still plan to use your son to make a comeback? Just you wait. Lü Zhi summoned the King of Zhao to the capital in the emperor's name. Everyone knew her intent. Zhou Chang, the chancellor of Zhao, defied the order, citing the king's illness as a reason for his absence. In a fury, Lü Zhi first summoned Zhou Chang. When he arrived, she pointed at him and hissed, "You know how much I hate the Qi woman. Why do you stand in my way?" Lü Zhi then summoned the King of Zhao again. This time, no one dared defy a decree issued in the emperor's name, except the emperor himself. Liu Ying, fully aware of his mother's intentions, personally went to meet his younger brother. He brought him directly into his own palace, eating and sleeping with him, hoping to act as a human shield and let time soften his mother's hatred. But Liu Ying underestimated the depth of that hatred. Not long after, Liu Ying rose early one morning to go out for archery. Liu Ruyi, being young and fond of sleep, did not join him. By the time the emperor returned, his brother had already been forced to drink poisoned wine by Lü Zhi's agents. The King of Zhao was dead. History does not record Emperor Liu Ying's state of mind at this moment. It only notes that he later tracked down the strongman who had executed his mother's order and had him sawn in half at the waist in the public market. After the death of the King of Zhao, Empress Liu ordered the gouging out of Lady Qi's eyes, the burning of her ears, and the forcing of toxins into her throat to render her mute. Finally, after severing her limbs, she cast the broken woman into a latrine, naming the creation the human swine, a human reduced to the state of a pig. Lü Zhi deliberately ordered a eunuch to lead the young emperor to witness this horror. When Liu Ying realized the mangled creature was Lady Qi, he collapsed in a fit of agonizing sobs and fell gravely ill. He sent a message to his mother. "This is not the work of a human. As your son, I can no longer hope to rule the world." But Liu Ying was mistaken. Lü Zhi's twisted and frenzied heart for vengeance did not cease with the deaths of Lady Qi and Liu Ruyi. She soon fixed her sights on her next target, Liu Bang's eldest son, Liu Fei, the King of Qi. In 193 BC, Liu Jiao, king of Chu, and Liu Fei, king of Qi, the 2 elder vassal kings, arrived in Chang'an to pay homage to the emperor. Emperor Liu Ying was genuinely pleased to see them. At a banquet following the protocol of a family gathering rather than imperial court, Liu Ying offered the seat of honor to his elder brother, Liu Fei. After a brief show of humility, Liu Fei accepted. This seemingly innocent gesture ignited Lü Zhi's fury. She ordered attendants to place 2 cups of poisoned wine before the King of Qi and, in her capacity as Empress Dowager, commanded him to offer her a toast. The emperor knew these tactics all too well. Just as the oblivious Liu Fei was about to raise the cup, Liu Ying lunged forward, grabbed the other cup, and prepared to drink it alongside his brother. Startled and enraged, Lü Zhi rose and physically struck the cup from Liu Ying's hand. At that moment, even the most dull-witted observer understood the situation. Liu Fei immediately feigned intoxication and fled the palace. Later, his agents confirmed that Lü Zhi intended to take his life. Terrified and realizing he could not easily escape Chang'an, he sought counsel from his ministers. On their advice, he offered more than 10 cities from the kingdom of Qi to Lü Zhi's daughter, Princess Lu Yuan, Liu Bang's only legitimate daughter. To secure his survival, Liu Fei went even further, defying all Confucian ethics by formally addressing his younger half-sister as Queen Mother. This finally appeased Lü Zhi. She hosted a lavish banquet at Liu Fei's residence in the capital and allowed the narrow-escaped king of Qi to return to his fief. Following the acquisition of these cities for her daughter, Lü Zhi sought an even greater, yet far more incestuous interest for Princess Lu Yuan the following year. She arranged for Lu Yuan's daughter, Zhang Yan, to become the empress. Yes, the emperor was forced to marry his own niece. That year, Empress Zhang Yan was only 10 years old. Even by ancient standards, she was far too young. Consequently, several years passed without a pregnancy. Seeing that Liu Ying was terminally ill, Lü Zhi decided that the matter of succession could no longer wait. She had already micromanaged her son's entire life. Now she would orchestrate the destiny of the next generation. Upon learning that Liu Ying was expecting a child with a palace consort, she ordered Empress Zhang Yan to feign pregnancy and eventually declared the child as the empress's own. By a stroke of political fortune, the child was a boy. A son born to the empress was, by definition, the legitimate heir. Thus, this infant, whose actual name was never even recorded in the official annals, was established as the crown prince. As for the child's biological mother, she was, without exception, executed on Lü Zhi's orders. A few years after this political tragedy, the gentle and sickly Emperor Liu Ying passed away at the age of 23. The child born to the consort was enthroned as the emperor. Zhang Yan became the Empress Dowager, and Lü Zhi, now 53, became the Grand Empress Dowager. It is said that when Liu Ying died, Lü Zhi wailed with great sorrow, yet not a single tear fell from her eyes, and she refused to proceed with the burial. The founding veterans, led by Zhang Liang and Chen Ping, were horrified by this political theater. They were uncertain of her intentions, perhaps still haunted by the great purge she had planned after Liu Bang's death. Whether out of genuine fear for stability or a desperate desire to flatter her, they proposed, "The crown prince is too young. You, great mother, must personally carry the burden of the empire." Lü Zhi stopped her crying. Carry the burden? How? Chen Ping, then serving as chancellor, further suggested that Lü Zhi's nephews, Lu Chan and Lu Lu, be appointed as generals to command the northern and southern armies, ensuring that the defense of the palace was firmly in the hands of the Liu clan. Only then could Lü Zhi command the world in the name of the Grand Empress Dowager. Lü Zhi was satisfied with this arrangement. 23 days later, once all political pieces were in place, the second emperor of the Han, Liu Ying, was finally buried in Anling. The young child ascended the throne, and Lü Zhi began her regnancy. A month later, she changed the era name to the first year of Empress Gao. She became the first de facto female ruler in Chinese history. Lü Zhi ruled with absolute authority. She did not merely hold power, she issued decrees in her own name, without the need for a puppet emperor's seal. Unlike later empresses who ruled from behind the veil, she sat openly in the imperial hall, receiving the homage of the 100 officials and exercising the supreme power of the empire. This set her fundamentally apart from all female regents who followed. And what of the emperor? To Lü Zhi, he was merely a child, a grandson, and a disposable political symbol. The Han Empire was now entirely within her grasp. She began to grant grand titles to the Liu clan. Before officially ennobling her own kin, she performed a superficial gesture of goodwill by granting titles to Liu Ying's other sons. Then, she dropped a hint to her ministers. The Liu family has received more titles. Is it not time for the Liu family? The ministers, keen to the political winds, immediately petitioned for it. Lü Zhi graciously accepted, beginning the wholesale enrichment of her clan. In the following years, she posthumously honored 3 deceased Liu ancestors as kings and ennobled 5 living Liu kinsmen as kings, along with at least 7 as marquises. Among these, the most controversial was the Marquise of Lingguang, for this title belonged to Lü Zhi, Lü Zhi's younger sister. Yes, Lü Zhi's own sister was made a marquise. This was a slap in the face to every meritorious official in the empire. At that time, a marquise was either a founding hero or a member of the imperial clan. Even the other Liu men were at least descendants of those with military merit. But Lü Zhi was a woman. Had it not been for her sister, how could she hold such a title? Was her merit equal to that of her husband? Ironically, her husband was the famous Fan Kuai, the Marquis of Wuyang and Liu Bang's brother-in-law. Yet no one dared to breathe a word of criticism against this outrageous appointment, because only 2 years prior, Lü Zhi had murdered the emperor. Indeed, Lü Zhi executed her own grandson, the little emperor who had sat on the throne for only a few years. The boy had begun to grow up and discovered the truth of his birth. In the innocence of childhood, he had whispered, "How could the empress kill my mother and claim me as her own? I am small now, but when I grow up, I will revolt." Unluckily, these words reached Lü Zhi's ears. She immediately had the emperor imprisoned in the everlasting alley, claiming he was ill. She began to spread word that the emperor was too sick to lead and that a replacement was necessary. The ministers, sensing the danger, complied. Lü Zhi then had the young emperor killed and selected an even younger grandson to sit upon the dragon throne. What was the era name of this new little emperor? An era name? Why would there be one? Was the great Han not already under the brilliant rule of the wise Empress Liu? Was it not the 4th year of Empress Gao? Why should a change in emperor necessitate a change in the calendar? Was he truly that important? In 181 BC, Lü Zhi summoned Liu Yu, the king of Zhao, to the capital. As the 6th son of Liu Bang, Liu Yu had originally been the king of Huaiyang. After Lü Zhi murdered the previous king of Zhao, Liu Ruyi, she transferred Liu Yu to the ill-fated Zhao throne. Then she executed a masterful but sinister maneuver. She forced Liu Yu to marry a woman from the Liu clan, effectively turning her nominal son into a nominal son-in-law. Forced unions bear bitter fruit. The king of Zhao did not love his Liu queen, preferring the company of his concubines. But he forgot that a woman of the Liu clan was not to be trifled with. In a fit of jealous rage, the queen fled to Chang'an and accused the king of rebellion, claiming he had said in his cups, "How can the Liu clan be kings? Once the Empress Dowager is gone, I will settle the score with them." Lü Zhi would not let this pass. She summoned Liu Yu to the capital immediately. She gave him no chance to explain, placing him under house arrest in his Chang'an residence and, chillingly, denying him food. Any attendants who tried to smuggle food to him were promptly arrested and prosecuted. A son of Liu Bang, a king of the empire, was thus starved to death. It is said that before he perished, Liu Yu composed a song denouncing the Liu clan, concluding with the line, "The Liu clan flouts the laws of heaven. I entrust my vengeance to the gods." Shortly thereafter, a solar eclipse occurred over Chang'an, a dire omen in ancient China. Lü Zhi was deeply unsettled, remarking to her attendants, "Is this because of me?" She may have been unsettled, but she was never cautious. To a woman who had spent a lifetime chasing power, a celestial warning was a mere inconvenience. If the heavens were displeased, she would simply ennoble another Liu clansman to ward off the ill luck. Lü Zhi ordered her nephew, Liu Chan, to be made king of Liang. The former king of Liang, Liu Bang's 5th son, Liu Hui, was transferred to become the new king of Zhao. Displaced from his own kingdom to the northern realm of Zhao, Liu Hui was despondent. Lü Zhi, ever attentive, decided his sadness was due to a lack of family. She forced Liu Hui to marry the daughter of the new king of Liang, Liu Chan. How could Liu Hui be satisfied? The new Liu queen arrived with a massive retinue and quickly seized control of the kingdom's administration. Then, as if inheriting the Liu family's signature jealousy, she grew resentful of Liu Hui's favorite concubine. Unlike the previous queen of Zhao, she took matters into her own hands and poisoned the woman. When Liu Hui discovered the truth, he was paralyzed. Retaliate? Seek justice? The fate of the previous King of Zhao served as a grim reminder of his options. Instead, he composed 4 songs to mourn his beloved concubine and then committed suicide to join her in death. When the news reached Chang'an, Lü Zhi was furious. She viewed Liu Hui as a man who had abandoned his house and state for a mere woman. "Such a man is of no use to the empire," she declared. She decreed that his descendants would never inherit a title. She then sent an envoy to Liu Heng, the king of Dai. "Would you like to be the new king of Zhao?" The king of Dai, Liu Heng, immediately declined. "Great mother, my kingdom of Dai is on the northern frontier, facing the Xiongnu. I shall remain in this desolate land to guard the borders for the empire." Just as Lü Zhi's anger began to rise again, the Chancellor Chen Ping stepped in with a suggestion. The fact that 3 kings of Zhao have met with misfortune proves they were not mature enough for the task. Your nephew, the Grand Commandant Lu, is the only one fit for the Zhao throne. Lü Zhi was pleased with Chen Ping's wisdom. Thus, the king of Zhao became a member of the Liu clan. Around the same time, Zhang Ao, the husband of Princess Lu Yuan and Lü Zhi's son-in-law, passed away. Years earlier, Zhang Ao had been implicated in a plot against Liu Bang and only kept his life, though stripped of his kingdom, because of Lü Zhi's desperate pleas. Compared to the Liu clan, Lü Zhi always viewed Zhang Ao's family as her true kin. As Princess Lu Yuan had already passed away, Lü Zhi ennobled their son, Zhang Yan, as the king of Liu, and granted marquessats to Zhang Ao's other sons. Soon after, Liu Bang's youngest son, Liu Jian, the king of Yan, died. He left a son born to a concubine, but Lü Zhi, who had already set her sights on the kingdom of Yan, dispatched assassins to kill the prince. She then smoothly declared that the king of Yan had died without an heir, and the kingdom was dissolved. A month later, she appointed her grandnephew, Lu Tong, as the new king of Zhao. The process was seamless, executed with the cold precision of a veteran architect of power. The year was 180 BC, the 8th year of the reign of Empress Gao. Let us survey the Han Empire at this moment. Where did the Liu clan stand? In the vassal kingdoms, the houses of Liang, Zhao, Yan, Lu, and Lu were all ruled by the Liu clan. In the central capital of Chang'an, Liu Chan and Lü Zhi's nephews, served as chancellor and grand commandant, commanding the southern and northern armies respectively. Beneath them, numerous Liu clansmen held key administrative and imperial guard positions as marquises. The military and administrative veins of Chang'an were entirely within their grasp. Beyond this, a web of Liu women, led by Lu Shu, the Marquise of Lingguang, occupied roles as queens and wives of high officials, casting an invisible net over the empire. In stark contrast, the influence of the Liu clan had been crushed to its minimum. Although the emperor bore the name Liu, the 16-year-old youth possessed no political agency under Lü Zhi's shadow. Even his empress was a Liu. Among the remaining Liu kings, the king of Chu was aging, the king of Wu was preoccupied with salt production and wealth, the king of Dai was too terrified to even accept a promotion, and the king of Huainan was an adopted son raised by Lü Zhi herself. The only potential threat was the kingdom of Qi. Though Liu Fei had passed, Qi remained one of the most powerful eastern states. To neutralize it, Lü Zhi had not only taken cities for her daughter, but had partitioned the kingdom into 4 pieces, inserting the Liu-controlled states of Lu and Lu, and half-controlling Langya, whose king, Liu Zhi, was married to the daughter of Lu Shu and Fan Kuai. By 180 BC, it was no exaggeration to say that if this trajectory had continued for a few more years, the Han Empire might have ceased to be the House of Liu forever. But history has no ifs. In March of that year, while returning from a ritual outing, Lü Zhi stopped to rest at a pavilion. Suddenly, a creature resembling a black dog lunged out of the shadows, struck her squarely in the flank, and vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Terrified, Lü Zhi consulted a diviner. The verdict: it was the vengeful spirit of Liu Ruyi, the late king of Zhao. A more grounded interpretation, however, is that the empress had been bitten by a rabid dog. Months later, the symptoms of rabies took hold. At the very zenith of her power, China's first female ruler succumbed to her illness and died. With the passing of this iron-willed matriarch, the stage was set for a political drama even more spectacular and even more blood-soaked than the one she had authored.